This is Plastic Adventures.
Hey everybody, it is Steve with the PATC, and I am joined with Doug on this week's episode of The Sandbox. And we are going to cap off our brand critiques. This is number 4 of 4 of what we consider the big 5. So why only 4 of 4? Because one of the big 5 just doesn't need a critique. It makes too much money. There's not really anything they could be doing different to make more money. So I'm sorry, we love you, Star Wars, but you are the absolute most evergreen property that ever was at the moment and probably ever will be. So you will not be getting Doug and my astute opinion on Star Wars, because the thing's a money machine, regardless of maybe a few ups and downs with distribution. But they're so well supported with media and
and
product.
Star Wars goes so far on the spectrum of parts to absolutely love and parts to absolutely hate, and everything in between. There's just no point in going over
But
it.
guess what? All of it makes money.
Oh yeah, every single one of it makes every part of it.
You know, there is no slowing down for that franchise, and there's nothing to really give thoughts on. Their product offerings are so vast and so across the board. There's something for everyone. So I'm sorry, Star Wars, you don't get our full attention. But what we will be finishing up with is one that's very near and dear to our hearts. That's going to be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we have talked about Transformers. We've talked about G.I. Joe. We have talked about not talking about Star Wars. So yes, here we go. Let's get rocking on Ninja Turtles. What was your first experience with Ninja Turtles?
Okay, so my first experience with Ninja Turtles, I think, was probably the toy before the cartoon. I definitely did not have the original experience with the black and white comic, the original black and white, gritty, dark version of the Turtles. But my first memory that I can think of was the Christmas of 1988, and getting that full first wave of all of the Turtles and Splinter and Shredder and the Foot Soldier, and April and Splinter. And like I remember opening all of those, plus laser tag. And so like Turtles was cool because I remember opening them first, and then I opened up laser tag with the star base and was like, Turtles.
Yeah.
But went right back to it, a couple of days later, and was like, oh yeah, hey, Turtles. And they're the big beefy He-Man-esque kind of build, and the wonky stance of like Shredder and April O'Neil. Not very actiony for action figures, but it was a pretty good first hit, I think.
Yeah, so really the toys showed up for you and you had no idea what the F anything that was about with those things.
Not really. I mean, I'd known of them. Obviously, I mean, when something that big in pop culture hits, you're going to be aware of it. But I had not had any real, like, in hand, like, full on, engagement with it. It was like, oh, I've heard about these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle things, and that was about it. But you got the toys, and that got me interested. So when I finally got a chance to watch the cartoon, I was all in. I was hooked on TMNT.
Well, my story is a little similar to yours, only I had no idea what Ninja Turtles were. I had not even heard of them. They had been out for some time, just a tiny bit of time. I want to say maybe the 5-part specials had run. I don't remember if that was still Saturday morning cartoons or not back in it was like 1988. What did happen to me is my cousin and I were really tight. We're really good friends. When I'm a year older than him, so I want to say that at the time I was like 9 and he was 8, and we had traveled up to my grandmother's brother's home in Rice, Washington. He had this gorgeous property, stream running through it down in this little valley, and he had acreage, and it was just amazing up there. Smelled great. It was in the mountains. And we'd brought some toys with us, and he says to me, let's play Ninja Turtles. And I'm like, the F's a Ninja Turtle? He goes, oh no, it's really cool. They're like these mutants and they've got weapons. One guy's got swords, the other guy's got a staff, and another guy's got nunchucks, and another guy's got swords. The sigh.
Yeah, you didn't know what they were.
Yeah, right. So I'm like, well, I want to be the one with swords. And he's like, no, I'm going to be the one with swords, but you can be the other one with swords.
The one with
Oh,
the
okay.
little swords.
So we're playing Ninja Turtles, and he's explaining to me what this is and what it's all about. And it sounded so effing awesome. Like, oh, wow. How do I not know about this cartoon? I mean, we had just gotten a couple of fresh G.I. Joes to take up there with us. So we were still like hot and heavy into the Joe thing. I bought Law and Order, and I picked up Lieutenant Falcon for him.
Ooh.
And then by the end of the trip, we traded. Yeah. So anyhow, we play Ninja Turtles, and I get back and I find myself in a Butcheries, and it's right around allowance time, and the turtles were like four or $5.99, something like that. So my first turtle I bought was Leonardo, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. His swords, he's got holsters for his swords. He's got sheaths, like.
I do remember that being cool, that they could hold their weapons.
And then the swords broke like instantly because they're flimsy. But I went up to his house and I stayed over, and we rented a VHS of Ninja Turtles, and it was like the original 5-part Turtles where they still drew the kind of the beak thing on the nose. And hooked.
Yep.
Absolutely 100% into it. 100% hooked on Turtles at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, they didn't stop there. The toys kept going like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles does. It just keeps rolling. It just keeps going. So after that, we got that second wave. We got Bebop. We got Rocksteady. I think we got the party wagon. And I think we got some
Foot Soldiers and Krang and Baxter Stockman.
Yeah.
The line started filling out really, really quickly. And I mean, we had 2 good, like 60. You know what? I don't remember what season 1 is. I know season 2, all of these syndicated series are like 60 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So we got from like 88 and like 2 years, which is what, 18 months longer than the average toy line was running in the stores back then. So we got 2 years of this ultra popular Ninja Turtles, and then something else happens in 1990. And if you didn't think a property could get more white hot than what it was, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action movie, just explodes. It is such a good movie. It's got adults into it. It's got kids into it. And that property goes even whiter hot than you would have ever imagined. Probably more explosive than Masters of the Universe or Transformers before it.
Oh my gosh, yes. And talk about, being hooked from the get-go when that movie opens up on New York City, gives us April O'Neil, and then pretty much within the first couple minutes of this movie, we're getting some kids beat up by some shadowed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then when you see them up close and in person, in real life, you're like, holy crap, these things are awesome.
Yeah, that technology from the Henson Creature Shop, you look at it now and you're like, it's kind of hokey, whatever. But back then, that was amazing. How would you have ever done Turtles in live action? It would have been a bunch of people with some prosthetics in green face, like it would have looked horrible.
Well,
but somehow they make these suits, and the guys can actually move around in them to a degree. And I mean, it is just like this massive wave.
Yeah.
Turtle pies, trading cards, and like people who were never Ninja Turtles fans who have always been Ninja Turtle fans. The comic books erupt. There was a huge resurgence on those original comics when the cartoons came, but for those of us who might have been under the age of the comic books, quite a different story there. But then Archie Comics takes over and blows up a giant series of kid-based Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it is just like insane Turtle Mania. So we start in 88, and we are strong into 90, 91, 90, what was it? 92 when we got
We
the
got
second movie, which was
when we
god
got
awful.
Secret of the Ooze, which gave us a little bit more of a cleaner cut versions of the turtles. The animatronics were probably a little bit better, but I felt that the original turtles from the first 90 movie were a little bit better done, a little bit more realistic and a little bit more gritty. Whereas the second one, they seemed a little bit more clean, a little bit more
Cartoony.
fleshed out. Yeah. So, but then again, the second movie was nowhere near as good as the first one, even though it had its highlights. Like a lot of people are not like into Super Shredder. Dude, I am all into Super Shredder. That dude kicks ass. He's so badass and huge. And you only see him for like maybe 4 seconds, and that makes me so mad.
Well, it's too bad Casey Jones wasn't around to put him in a trash compactor again.
No, but we did get Ninja Rap. Thank you, Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Even that was kind of a hit on the radio.
It
That had a
was.
lot of
I
play.
remember.
So, I mean, so we're now at the 4-year mark when that comes out. And then what was it, another year or two before the third one came? That was probably 94.
I think so. Yep. We're about
So
right
Ninja
about
Turtles, yeah, it doesn't even slow down until like 95, which at this point we're 7 years into the run.
Mhm.
And then it still is kicking around. We're still getting figures released. And then we have this TV series that they try to launch with it.
The live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mutant one, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, what was that, 96 when that came out? Something like that.
So that one was running concurrently with Power Rangers at the time. And they
Maybe one
actually did a
season.
crossover. I don't know if we talked about this before, but they did a crossover episode with Power Rangers. I'm not a Power Ranger fan, but I definitely did check out that episode, and I'll have to say it's every bit as hokey as you would think it would be.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no questions asked on that one. So when did we really see Turtles leave the shelves? It was about 96, I think, when they left the shelves, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, it was dry for about a year or two there. But then something, what was it, 2003? Was it 2003?
Well,
or did we have something before then?
Yeah, let's not forget, like, okay, so we're about 96-ish. The toys are still coming. They're in KB Toys, and they're reissuing the original Ninja Turtles, and they're 3 for $10. So I mean, those at this point, we got 10 years of Turtles on the shelves, and then it was early 2000s, and they come back again.
Yeah, and they come back in a really big way. So the 2003, or late 90s, early 2000s, everything was extreme, right? So we get this new updated version of the Turtles, where they're all kind of big and beefy, and they look really kind of superhero-ish. But the stories are every bit as good as they are later on in the years, when we get to another run of the Turtles. But it's showing that it's a growing franchise. It's growing up, and it's not afraid to change.
Yeah. Yep. So then we go from that, and then we go to just the absolutely killer run that they had on Fox Kids.
Yep.
Which produced amazing figures.
Which you can still find some of them pop up every once in a while. Most of them you'll see kind of what's a testament to these figures is that when you find things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lots on eBay, you find these figures. What are they? They're played with. They're grungy. Their paint is worn. So I mean, kids loved these figures.
They did, and what they almost had an original Turtle-ish look to them, but they added wrist articulation and better elbow articulation, and then they had the swivel at the joint, and the legs moved, and I mean, you could really pose these things. I want to say I saw them in Toys R Us for $7.99 a piece, and I just bought the original 4 Turtles.
Nice.
I was kind of back into toy collecting at that point, but I was character collecting, so like Optimus Prime and Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And like hands down, I saw those and I'm like, I need those. Bottom, the weapons are flexible enough that they're not gonna break at the really, really high stress points. So I did not know that Turtles could get any better than that. And what was it, 2012? We have a terrific CGI movie that comes out.
So what was it before? So right before that, I can't remember how long it was before the 2012 TV series, but we had that CGI movie called TMNT, and
which was
that
great.
is supposedly a continuation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action movies, not counting number 3. I think it's supposed to go 1, 2, and then TMNT, and we're forgetting about number 3.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be those same type of characters. I think it's supposed to be that same story. And talk about a great reintroduction to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you had been gone for a couple of years and you're like, hey, how's TMNT doing? And you tuned in right then, you would have been in for a big surprise because it was very big. And the story was great. I love that Raphael had kind of gone off on his own. We're talking about a broken family that has gone its separate ways and is now trying to come back into what they were, born to do, supposedly. So,
yeah, April's trying to get the band back together. The voice acting was terrific.
Yep.
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, even Sarah Michelle Gellar wasn't bad in that,
which is saying a lot because normally she is pretty bad. But after that, we get the 2012 Nickelodeon series.
Yes, yep.
Which is a great series. I loved every bit of that, every moment of that. That got me and my children watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again regularly. So great series.
Ninja Turtles, it had this one little lull in the 90s, but then started burning white hot again.
Yep.
And the shelves were full of the figures. We go 2012, and then, well, something else kind of happens. We get Transformers in live action, and we get G.I. Joe in live action, and it's the same kind of cadre of people that are pumping this out and having creative input on it. And then Ninja effing Turtles produced by Michael Bay come out.
I mean, I guess we have to talk about that.
they sell tons of these ugly ass Ninja Turtle figures. Explodes.
So I will say, I have to give credit where credit is due. The first one is way better than the second, and the Turtles almost felt like themselves. They kind of felt like who they were supposed to be. I didn't like their backstory so much. I actually didn't like what they did with Splinter. I felt that Splinter was a bit overdone. I don't think it's that they did well with that character at all. And let's not even talk about the Shredder. Shredder was just straight up.
Part of that movie had to be rewritten because they whitewashed the Shredder and made him some corporate asshole.
Yeah.
And so they quickly did a fix up on that one and changed it to something that was some semblance of continuity with the original Shredder. But
yep.
Saying that one wasn't as bad as the second is like saying that any given Transformers movie was actually good.
Yeah, I know. I you say that with a caveat.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? They're out. Turtles are out again, and they're back on the shelves again. They made all the Turtles look like the Hulk. They're too big, but
especially Raphael is just huge.
Yeah, so we get through that, and then we start cooling down a little bit, and then a new Nickelodeon series after that, because Nickelodeon buys the franchise. So really, from 1988 until now, we've really only had maybe like 3 or 4 inactive years total for Ninja Turtles.
And even those inactive years weren't necessarily all that inactive, because we still had merchandise on the shelves.
We do, from collector sources. In this little kind of a lull that we're in right now, Walmart has done reissues of the original Turtles, and Target's now followed suit with some, and Walmart is doing some really crazy ass reissues, like the pizza shooting ones.
Yeah, I saw those.
But we got the party van, we got the blimp. We're getting like the full original wave of figures on vintage style cards now. Target had some exclusives, and hobby only channels had 6 packs of the original figures being reissued. And now here we're creeping into another version of Ninja Turtles, produced by Seth Rogen.
Fart joke Seth Rogen.
Well, yes, that's why I love him, because that's all I know how to joke about, that and Dix. But if you've seen the preview, for any doubters, that preview looks very promising
It
for new
does.
Ninja Turtles.
It has more promising than disappointments.
It
So,
does. So yeah, I mean, I guess
once again, it's a big departure from how the Turtles normally are in people's heads. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a big departure from the Turtles. Definitely Michael Bay was a big departure of how people thought about the Turtles. But, you know, what we're seeing is that we're seeing a franchise that from the very beginning has not been afraid of change.
not at all.
There hasn't been. So, I mean, other franchises we see they approach change cautiously over a lot of different versions, eventually getting to something different. Like G.I. Joe, still kind of felt the same through a lot of its release, but until we got to G.I. Joe Renegades, it all still kind of felt like old school G.I. Joe, even though we were getting Sigma 6 and all that. It still kind of felt like that. But then, you know, then we got a big change in G.I. Joe Renegade. So, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from the very beginning, every iteration that comes out is different than the one before.
Yeah, and I think you can probably say that there's redeeming something about almost every version that's come.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like any of my complaints about Ninja Turtles, we're in between media, I think, at the moment. They might be doing reruns on Nickelodeon right now, amping up for the new movie. And I really do think that for the last couple of years, they've leaned really hard on collector exclusive type figures and the reissues of the characters to kind of keep it floating while we're waiting for this movie. But I mean, there is product no matter what. Super 7 does the Ultimates, they do the retros. God, you got those really bad ones from BST, AXN. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
I know which ones you're talking about.
They're garbage.
But then we also get like the ultimate version of the Turtles from NECA, right?
Uh-huh.
That's my favorite version, even over the original toy versions. These NECA versions from the 1990 movies are the most perfect versions of them I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yep. I wasn't gonna touch them until I saw Casey Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that figure and I'm like, you have to be effing kidding me.
Yep.
How can this be this good? And of course, that he came along after the original 4 had been out there, you know, in single packs, and people snapped them up and eBayed the crap out of them. But then they reissued the Turtles in 2-packs.
Yeah.
I ended up buying those, and I bought some of them that fell off the assembly line.
Those are the ones I bought.
Yeah, they're pretty good figures nonetheless. So yeah, that's one of NECA's greatest products that they've ever come out with so far. But then now they're giving you the Turtles from Secret of the Ooze, so you got another chance to buy the pack again and get those figures. So
and they also gave us the other subsequent characters. We got April O'Neil, we got Splinter, we got Shredder, we got Foot Soldiers. I don't know if we got a Tanaka. I don't think we did. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get one. But
I think he might be going the Danny Pennington route.
We got the Danny figure, which before Tanaka, really, but you know, whatever. But either way, they've all been masterpieces of that Ultimates line from NECA. So
they're so freaking good. There are people that are doing toy photography with it and lighting it up, and you'd never know it wasn't the actors standing there.
Seriously.
So yeah, I mean, overall, as far as where Ninja Turtles has come from and where they're going, I want to say I got to give that like a really strong like B to B plus for those guys. They've been keeping us along the entire time without having much of a lull or not having you know, the only complaint right now would be that there's not something for kids to buy on the shelf for Turtles. It's reissue stuff carrying us to the movie.
So we did have for a little while there we did have those Rise of the TMNT Turtles figures, which I did see quite a bit of, but then I saw them cleared out, and so I'm hoping that they weren't just cleared out because the stores were getting rid of them, but I hope they were cleared out because somebody bought them. Hopefully they found their ways into the hands of children. So that way we get another generation of TMNT fans coming up behind us. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I don't see it dying anytime soon. I mean, this new movie might carry us another year with new product, and then
I
there'll
hope
be
so.
something
The
else
toys
that
that they've shown at some of the conventions for the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles actually looks really good. I see them as a I see a little bit of the original cartoon TMNT in them a little bit, which is actually pretty surprising. I didn't think that they would give us that kind of nostalgic trip to them, but it definitely feels like that.
yeah, initial images, teases. I was like, oh, what the hell? They look like a bunch of like vegan geckos or something like that.
Seriously.
But when you see them in motion and you see the toys, it's like, damn, that's not that bad. And there's going to be a huge, huge rollout of products. They're getting play sets, the sewer layer.
That's what I was going to say. TMNT is giving us something that we don't really get these days, and that's a full-fledged play set.
Yeah,
they're getting a sewer. It's a multi-level sewer play set that what other play sets or what other lines give us play sets right now?
Yeah, you're getting it from Masters. That's it.
But those are, again, you have to get on the Kickstarter projects for those, right? You gotta pre-order all of those. I'm talking about this is going to be a shelf available thing.
You got Snake Mountain coming, and Castle Grayskull was at retail.
Oh, okay.
Remember, so they're in that like $80 range for those play sets, but Matt, that's a lot riskier than marketing something that they know that kids are going to crap a brick over.
Yeah.
Especially when Turtles comes out this summer, and that's going to carry you into the holiday season. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of little kids wanting sewer layer play sets and shredders and foot soldiers.
I hope that is on every kid's Christmas list. I really do, because that it looked really good for what it was. So I'm not unhappy. I would agree with you. I think I would give it a solid B. I don't think it can go below that, but at some parts in the franchise history, it can go way above that.
Yeah, because they're not just something that gets popular and stabilizes it. It's like this incredibly volatile reaction to Turtles when it comes, and they just explode out of the shelves. But it's an awesome time to be a Turtle collector. It's also a really good time if you just like watching Turtle movies or cartoons.
Yep.
It's coming soon. And you know what? A whole new slew of kids hopefully will be saying cowabunga out on the playground, climbing around on the equipment, and then some kid can be the Ninja Turtle with swords, and then some kid could be the other Ninja Turtle with swords.
Hopefully that's how they're talking about it. Hey, have you seen this new thing called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
My parents love it. I want to play effing Roblox. No. Hopefully it gets him off the tablet and gets him out pretending to be, pretending to be anthropomorphic martial arts instructed
amphibians.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. So I think that closes out our brand State of the Union, kind of where we see each of the major brands coming.
Yep. The big five with four.
Yeah, the
Turtles,
big five with
Masters, G.I. Joe, and Transformers, with Star Wars being probably the ultimate champion of toys for all time with what they've been able to do.
But as a toy collector and as a person who's always constantly has nostalgia close to his heart, it's been great the last couple of years to see all of my old favorite toy line or franchises on the shelves again. I can walk into a toy line or toy aisle now and hopefully see Star Wars, hopefully see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, G.I. Joe. It's great to see all of those on the shelf again in some form or another. So
and we talked at length about the magic.
Yeah.
What is it about these? And yes, Pokemon, we know you're in there too. And yes, Power Rangers, we know you're there too. But you ain't no 40-year franchises yet.
Not yet. But it's those things that got their, they have something similar with the franchises that we like, right?
Yeah. There's a magic to them.
There's a magic to them. And we can't deny those. We can't really say that, oh, well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah, Pokemon, poo. Like, no, I mean, we have to recognize that there is some magic, some staying power to those franchises. they wouldn't be where they're at right now if they didn't, right? So you know, who knows, in 30 years, whatever social media looks like, us from our friggin' old folks home might be giving a podcast. What's a podcast, Grandpa? We don't know what the hell that is, but we might be giving a show talking about our freaking 60-year-old toy lines from then. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, cheers. I raise my glass to it, and I hope we're still talking about this when we're pooping our pants in the retirement home.
I hope so too, really, because when we're that old, there's really not going to be much to talk about.
No joy left.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us again on another what was this?
Sandbox.
Yeah, woo! Yeah, another sandbox where you got to hear two old guys' opinions talk about some things that maybe you have opinion about too. And if you do, give us a comment and we'll make sure to probably respond to it in between our real lives.
We'll only delete them if they don't go with our toy snowflake points of view.
That's right, darn it. We have that power. All right. So join us on any of our social medias. Steve on Facebook, me on Instagram, and we'll see you in the toy aisles.